Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, dear friends. Welcome to Kardec Radio. Always, always, always 24 hours nourishing our souls. I am Correa, and we are here with our dear Sunshine. Hello, Sunshine. Good morning to you.
Hello. Hello, dear Carol. How are you doing?
To everyone, we are happy to be here again on Kardec Radio with the blessed opportunity to study the teachings by the Spirit Doctor André Luiz, always concerned with educating us for immortality under the guidance of the Christ himself. So we are honored for André Luiz's devotion, Chico Xavier's blessed partnership with André Luiz and many other spirits. We cannot thank Chico Xavier enough for devoting his life to these treasures that shall nourish us forever and ever. How privileged are we, dear friends, to study this together. And we, of course, are referring right now to our study of the book Between Heaven and Earth. Today we are going to study chapter 8, which in the book is entitled A Delightful Trip, but in the original language it reads A Delightful Excursion. So we would like to make this correction in light of the version that is published by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. To align it more greatly with the original text, we propose A Delightful Excursion rather than A Delightful Trip as the title of this chapter. And what is the excursion about? Sunshine is going to tell us more about this beautiful excursion, and we are blessed, dear friends, because we are going to undergo this excursion together. What a beautiful opportunity, right, Sunshine?
Yes, we're very blessed and grateful for this beautiful book and the beautiful chapter. So if we remember, last week we studied a case by the person's name was Leonardo Torres, and he is in spirit form, and he had committed a crime during his previous lifetime. And he experienced a form of mental obsession of the spirit of the person he had killed. And he was crying out for his granddaughter as being the only one who has an open heart. And lo and behold, who is the granddaughter? The granddaughter is Antonina, who we met in the chapter before last week, who has several children and one child discarnated early on, so as a child. And we are now joining the team to travel to visit that little child of Antonina. But in the process, we're running into Leonardo Pires again. Mm-hmm. But Antonina, who took her children herself to bed, is now in a sleep state and freed from her body. And she sees her grandfather. She says, "What are you doing here?" And her grandfather is Leonardo Pires. And he says, "So what are you doing here?" And he says, "Oh, please help me, help me. You're the only one in the family who has not forgotten me." And he says, "I am being tortured by this sworn enemy of mine. He's like a demon living in my conscience." So Antonina, however, is being taken apart from him, is taken aside from him, because she and André Luiz and the whole team are going on this excursion, and they are on their way essentially to visit her little child. And so in the meantime, Leonardo is being asked to make himself useful. He's being assured he will get his help, he will get assistance. But right now, first they're taking Antonina, and he's asked to watch over Antonina's little children in the bedroom while they're sleeping. And so here they are leaving now. They're joining hands and they're keeping Antonina, and there's another sister in the middle of them, and Clarencio and the whole team, and Andre Luiz, and they're levitating. And Antonina says, who on earth could ever imagine the delightful sensations of being a free soul? So they're really enjoying this excursion. And so Donna Antonina takes Clarencio's arm and she says, why don't we make this trip a definite transference?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what she's talking about is discarnation, right? Is that she doesn't want to come back to her body. And so this is a really important question, because maybe some of us have felt that way, that we had experiences during the night, or we're transporting ourselves into different realms and we feel so free without the body. And we're wondering, like, what am I still doing here, right? It would be so much nicer to not have the body, right?
You're right. Yeah.
And so, so why can't we just stay and forget about the heartaches and disappointments of the world, she continues to ask. And then Minister Clarencio helps her and us out to understand why this is not really a possibility right now. Mm-hmm. And he says, we know how much trouble afflicts the reincarnated spirit, especially when it awakens to the beauty of the spirit world. He says, we must praise the opportunity, however, to serve and never to scorn. So it is important to stay in our bodies till the very end and to use this blessed opportunity to serve and never scorn. This blessed opportunity of being in the flesh. He says we must embrace the struggle of the flesh in order to pay off our old debts in a worthily manner. So there is another aspect. So it's also about paying off our debts. He says, yesterday, and this is a beautiful line, yesterday we were helped. Today it is our turn to help. So this is part of our reincarnatory or incarnatory path, to be of service, to undo past wrongs, and to never ever scorn this life, this blessed opportunity. He says, if you were to abandon your vehicle of dense matter right now, how do you know you will be happy? Which of us could enjoy supreme bliss without perfect personal sublimation? And of course, the personal sublimation is to undo our past wrongs, to expunge the nodules that in our perispirit that we have formed through our thoughts, our feelings, our words and actions in the past. So when we go to the Spirit's book, we find a chapter that it helps us explain what the purpose of our incarnation is. So, of course, Minister Clarencio helped us to understand already, but here Allan Kardec is so precise in his questioning, and of course the spirits on high help us out tremendously, and they answer very precisely. And we're not reading the answer, we're just picking out the highlights. So it is question 132 in the Spirit's book, if you want to read the whole thing. Essentially, the purpose of incarnation, the spirits help us to understand, is for us to be led to perfection. So the purpose is for the spirits, which is us, to lead ourselves to perfection. And it is through many, many, many and more many lifetimes that we learn continuously. Pretty much every minute of our lives, we learn. The other purpose for incarnation is expiation. And that is what Minister Clarencio also mentioned. That is, we are living the effects of the causes we've created. And we're right now referring to the painful ones. So that is when we are experiencing difficulties in our lives, losses, pain, illness, or other congenital conditions. That is often, not always, based on expiation. That's when we revisit in that form and shape in these situations past wrongs. It is fulfilling duties that we did not adhere to. They become then regenerative duties. Another purpose of incarnation, much more rarely though, are the missions. Some spirits are here purely on a mission. Jesus was here on a mission, right? He didn't have to explain anything. He didn't
Without a doubt.
right? He didn't
Right.
need to be led to perfection. He already was very highly evolved spirit. And then we are also here to share in the work of creation. So this is another one. We are actually expressing creation through, we're co-creators of God. So we're expressing God by being part of God. We are doing our work in the work of creation. So this is another purpose of our incarnation. And as we are doing all of this, as we are through so many lifetimes, we do what? The invitation is for us to draw closer to God. All of this will help us ascend to God, to become more like God. Of course, we're far away here on earth, but it's part of our journey. It is our journey. And the other thing, excuse me, the other thing that's important, because Antonina is wondering, can't I just stay here? Is the question of our expiration date, which again, Alan Kardec addresses in the question in the Spirit's book, which is question 853, if you like to read that, where we learn that true fatalism, in the true sense of the meaning of the word, actually only applies to the instant of our discarnation, of our death. So that moment is already fixed. So we can't, if we shorten our incarnation at that very moment, we would be committing suicide. And sometimes we commit indirect suicide by not taking care of our physical form, right? We know that from André Luiz in his first book, No Solar. He describes it in all details. But so we are here to see our incarnation to the end. And overriding of all of this, which André Luiz here and Minister Clarencio is also alluding to, is that we're here to serve, to undo our past wrongs through service, because the law of cause and effect is something that we cannot, and many of us here on earth are not paying attention to that law. But it's just like gravity, we cannot escape it, because the law of cause and effect was implemented by God for us. For which purpose? And we've said it before, but we'll say it again because we feel it's so important. What is the purpose of the law of cause and effect? It is for us to be warned about the wrongs that we have committed, and by disturbing the harmony of all the other laws. Because the minute we hurt somebody else, we are disturbing the harmony of this universe. And as a result, and we are not allowed to contaminate with our wrongful acts, thoughts, emotions, words, whatever, this universal harmony that God created. This law is incorruptible. So every time we transgress, and of course in the Spirit's book and through all the beautiful Spiritist literature, we learn of how to align ourselves more with the law of cause and effect, which really means aligning ourselves more with God. We will infringe on this law less. So what happens is the effect has been imposed, the pain that we're experiencing in any form or shape has been imposed by us. We've created it. We are the lawbreakers, and we create our own consequence, which of course nips any blame into the butt. Right? So there is no blame ever, anything we do to ourselves. And if we really understood that on this planet, that everything, whenever we transgress the law of cause and effect, we're hurting ourselves most and foremost. This planet would be a different situation, would be in a different place. Right, Carol?
So right, Sunshine. Thank you for reminding us all of the divine laws and how we experience them directly in our lives. And often, those whom we have difficulty relating to, we learn through the law of cause and effect, are the very spirits that once were part of our intimate circle, and we ourselves did something, incurred in some form of action that broke their trust. And because they don't know what we know, they are in a mental loop going around and around the same circle of trauma, of traumatic experiences. And this is why they come back to us, because they have this tie of affection with us that was broken traumatically. So this is why we magnetically attract them, because we were part of the traumatic circumstance, and this is why they seek for us as well. So, as you said, Sunshine, we are not victims. The very spirits, incarnate or discarnate alike, that challenge us are the ones that we hurt at some point in our many existences ourselves. And we may wonder, why does God allow for those whom we hurt to come back to us, even in terms of magnetic attraction? Why? Because as we learn, spiritually speaking, as we acquire more spiritual wisdom through books like this, we then emanate this wisdom to those in our network. So it is a quote unquote win-win situation, because we educate ourselves and those around us are watching us and they are invited to learn too. So right at this instance, as we are tuned in to this program, because this program is of an educational nature, others who are part of our network are learning as well. So God allows for us to put the band-aid on the very hurt that we cause. How? By re-educating ourselves and literally opening the door of the new to the souls that we didn't know how to love previously. So this is how the law of cause and effect, as Sunshine beautifully pointed out, also is bathed in love. Because as we learn, others in our network learn as well. As we change, they are given the opportunity to change. As we discover that we are children of God, they are given the opportunity to be children of God. As we learn to vibrate differently, they see how it is possible for them to vibrate differently. So the very people who fell with us previously, slipped and fell with us previously, are the very people who can get up and walk alongside with us. This is the beauty of the law of cause and effect. Though it may lead us to experience challenges from time to time, the beautiful aspect of those challenges is that from there, it emerges a beautiful opportunity of transformation that always leads to love. And we ask the mentors of Kardec Radio, Sunshine, and everyone listening and watching for permission to use such strong language, only because we know that God is love. So this is why we use this strong language, because we know that this doesn't come from us, it comes from God. And God wishes for all of us to be destined towards love. This is why we use language, because we know God is immutable. This is why we use the word always, because always refers to the fact that this will not change. We may change, but God's love will not. Right, Sunshine?
Absolutely. Thank you for making that so clear, Carol. It is
Thank
really
you.
important for us to download this.
That's why we study together, right, Sunshine? And hello, Nora Brazil.
Hello, dear friend. Hi.
Hello, Mark Carlos.
Hello,
And
Mark.
hello, everyone who has joined us.
Yes, thank you for joining. So we're going back to our team that's having different experiences. And Antonina, we were just reminded she wanted to stay in the spirit world. But Minister Clarencio further points out some really important information why this cannot be so. He says that you are about to visit blessed little children whom death has temporarily snatched from earthly life, and one of them is her child. And he says, could there really be heaven without the presence of those we love? So here he gives us another perspective that when we want to leave a situation, what about our loved ones, right? Could there really be heaven? He says, could we have peace without the joy of those who live in our hearts? Is an expression of heaven. They're linked, those two, right? Then he says the tormented human home would increase in importance in the nostalgia that would overwhelm you. The memory of the children still imprisoned on the planet would enchain you to the physical realm like a strong root holding the tree to the dark ground. The cries and groans, the struggles and trials of your unhappy children would speak to your spirits more loudly than the songs of blessedness. So in other words, Minister Clarencio is helping her to understand that leaving her little children that are still in the flesh behind would not create peace and joy and heaven for her, because we cannot negate the ties that love binds us, the loving ties we have to other souls. So he's being very realistic. And of course, he's also very realistic to us, for us, because that is something for us to be really, to become increasingly conscious of how many spirits we are connected to. And to just selfishly wish, oh, I just want to check out and be in bliss is not the answer. We're getting really clear on that. It means to say, for the greatest blessedness of one who loves lies in giving of oneself on behalf of one's beloved children. So again, the children are where we need to focus on as well. We often in our lives, those of us who don't have small children anymore, may forget about it, may forget about the little children. So important. He says we're all one another's debtors. 1,000 ties bind our hearts to each other. For now, there is no perfect paradise for anyone who returns to earth. There is no perfect paradise for anyone who returns from earth, just as there is no example of purgatory for anyone who returns to the human maelstrom. So in other words, even if we thought it would be so wonderful to be discarnated right now, there is no perfect heaven yet, because we still are too indebted. If we go to heaven and hell and we study all the different cases, and we have a program on Kardec Radio that can be accessed of every single case in heaven and hell, we learn that even those spirits who were spiritists or very service-oriented in their previous incarnations are shocked to see how much more work there needs to be done to experience true bliss. And then he says, hold on, we're reaching the point. Sorry, I missed this. So he says, Earth is nothing but energy that has been condensed since time immemorial. God's creatures, we perfect our faculties and grow in knowledge and sublimation through service. It is, once again, our path towards God goes through knowledge and service. And he gives this beautiful example of a worm. This is a theme that knowledge and service that we find interwoven through through the Andre Luiz series. We also find it in the Emmanuel series, right? The books. And we find it in Emmanuel's book, Thought and Life. He actually dedicated a whole chapter to this phenomena. That is, we can't talk about it enough. We want to repeat that it is love and wisdom, as Emmanuel calls it, in chapter, I think it's chapter 4 in Thought and Life, and it's entitled Instruction. Mm-hmm. He calls it love and wisdom. Andre calls it knowledge and service. Mm-hmm. Knowledge falls under wisdom. It's the studying part of us. It's the acquisition of knowledge. It's gathering influences from those before us. It's studying what those before us have already found to be true. And it is even then taking it another step. Life increases in value when we have a bigger picture, when our knowledge increases. Mm-hmm. But knowledge alone, intelligence alone is cold and hard. And it can be, like we saw it in the book where Gregorio.
Mm-hmm. Liberation, yes.
Gregorio was a perfect example of knowledge. He was very intelligent. But the mind is hard and judgmental. What do we need? We need the balance. We need the heart. We need the love. And this is why we cannot just have wisdom. 2 wings are required for a bird. The love wing is the service to mankind. It is putting our knowledge into practice in form of service. We're illuminated. We're made more beautiful within through love. And it's not just an emotion. As a matter of fact, it's a way of being. It's a way of life. It's less an emotion than just beingness, because this universe is love. And what we said earlier, the minute we break the harmony, the love, the beauty of this universe, we have to account for it. Mm-hmm. So it is important to understand that both wings are needed, that we go within and see, where am I at? Am I more mental, more knowledge-oriented? Am I more cold, judgmental? Am I just, in the mind? Or how about my heart? And of course, only being in the heart, we need the mind, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's also the light of discernment. So we need both. Jesus, our perfect model, we learn in the apostles, we learn how he was spreading his teachings. And then when we go to the gospel, we see him being in service, serving mankind. Right, Carol?
Right, Sunshine. So beautifully put. And in the book Good News by Humberto de Campos through Chico Xavier, we see Master Jesus practically saying this very same words to Nicodemus. When Nicodemus, a doctor of the law, said to Master Jesus, "Oh, Master, I know you are the Messiah. I have studied all the laws. I recognize you. I know the scriptures, but I don't know how to reach your kingdom." Master Jesus's response is the same response that we could take to our hearts, as if we were Nicodemus ourselves. Master Jesus replies, "Nicodemus, you have forgot to feel the teachings." So this is a recommendation by Master Jesus, which resonates with Andre Lewis's recommendations and Emmanuel's recommendation, because Spiritism is a science, and as a science it always progresses, and thus we see triangulation, we see the confirmation of the same teaching from different sources at different points in time. So it's the beauty of science. This is how we validate a scientific finding, and Spiritism is beautiful in that sense. And it is in this way, as a science, that we know that it is possible to bring together reason and faith, as Sunshine brought to us. This is very true. So we don't believe just because. We believe because we know. And we know because we believe, right? And how can then we feel the scriptures? We can practice bringing it to our lives, putting it to practice in our daily tasks. So, how can we love more is our central question. How can we love God more? How can we love ourselves more? And how can we love others more? Sunshine repeatedly reminds us of God's to do list that she does every morning. This is a beautiful exercise before we go through our own to-do list, right, Sunshine? We can go through God's to-do list. And we know for certain now, thanks to Sunshine's reminders to all of us, that we have one item that is always there every day in God's to-do list, and that is to serve others. So at least once a day, because we know that we all have this item in common in God's to-do list, at least once a day, let us make an effort together as a team to serve one person, to be of service to at least one other person. Could be through a phone call, it could be through a text message, could be through an email, could be by sending them a link to a Kardec radio program or a TED talk or any other edifying source of inspiration. Could be by sending them a book, it could be by praying for them, but let us make an effort once a day to be of service to another person. That way, by the end of the year, especially this year, we will have 366 acts of service that we will have put in our immortal resume there. And because of our millennial learning opportunities that we signed up for before reincarnating, the more we add, the more acts of service we add to our list, the better. We know it's almost the end of the year now, right? So we may not have exactly 366 actions added to our list, but the beginning of the new year is coming as well, so we can start now and continue afterwards as a new year resolution. In that way, we will have more than 365 acts of service. One act a day will do miracles for our inner balance. This is how we acquire both wings, right, Sunshine?
Yeah, good action. There, I don't know whether you've seen it, but on social media there is this calendar for December circulating, and I think it's called the calendar of service.
Oh, that's beautiful! Oh my goodness!
Something that is one thing that they suggest we do. So it's really something we can even make for ourselves for the next year. We can.
Ooh, I will look for it. We will look for it. This sounds wonderful. What a beautiful proposal.
Yeah, if I find it, I'll post it on my page, then you can see it. And
ooh, thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
We use it as an inspiration for next year. We make the calendar for 2021.
Yes.
We would pick one thing we're going to do, and then.
Right, and we don't have to wait for January 1st, right? We can start now.
Yes, exactly.
Our guardian angels will be like, "Ooh, they are doing it! Yes!" They will be right behind us, cheering for us.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, and it's one way, as Minister Clarencio makes it so clear to us, that we don't forget about our loved ones, and our loved ones are really everyone, ideally, right? We're still kind of like thinking that it's only family, and I mean blood family, maybe friends. But we're all children of one God, and we're all linked and connected. And so ultimately our goal, as we ascend and draw closer to God through our millions of lifetimes. And we're going to realize more and more that the separateness we experience is really an illusion, and that when we're serving, we're all the others are our loved ones, right?
Right, sunshine.
How can we ascend? I mean, Minister Clarencio says, no, you can't discarnate now. You have all these loved ones. Ascending is not a solitary path. And
Yes.
it's a path that we do in conjunction with everyone else. We're not just, well, me and I got to be up there. But what about the service aspect, right?
Right, sunshine. And as you reminded us in previous programs, heaven or hell is not a geographical location, but rather is an inner state. So if we leave our loved ones behind before it's time, we will not have inner serenity, and thus we will be in quote unquote hell, because we will not be able to be at peace with our own conscience. As you pointed out in previous programs, Sunshine, Kardec teaches us that being in heaven is being at peace with our own minds and conscience. And the only way is to know that we have done all that we can on behalf of others. This is the secret of true happiness. It's not to invest only in ourselves, thinking of our needs. It's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
Currently, it's not a mainstream way of life, but it is most definitely a Christ-centered way of life, or a God-centered way of life, right, Sunshine?
I think it's beautiful. And what just came in is like when we're in peace, as you said, we are in love, and not in the unit that I'm in love with you or I fall in love with you. State of love. We are in peace. We are in love, in a state of love. And that's
Yes.
we feel connected. We feel your pain is my pain, right?
Exactly.
We don't even feel separate from animals and plants. We really feel connection.
Exactly. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we're going to move on in our chapter here. The next question that Antonina has for Minister Clarencio is another really important one that we're looking for an answer. She says, why don't we have a living memory of our previous lifetimes? Wouldn't it be blessed happiness to consciously meet again those whom we love the most? Good question. Right?
Excellent question.
And Minister Clarencio comes to the rescue again. He says, in our present spiritual condition, we do not know how to orient our desires towards what is best. Our love is still an insignificant fragment of light buried in the darkness of our egoism. He continues to say, a complete memory of our past lifetimes is the last altar we set up in the temple of our soul. Why would that be? Let's keep reading. Why would that be the last altar that we set up in the temple of our souls to remember past lifetimes? He says, if we could recognize our former loved ones, and if we could see the faces of former friends again, we would be not only contacting the best ones, but also the worst ones. And that is something we may not be ready for. Even the best ones, but particularly the worst ones. He says, we still cannot desire without disdaining, assist without harming. We're just not at that place yet that we could handle knowing all of this. He continues to say, without the temporary forgetfulness of our former lives, we could not receive yesterday's enemy into our heart to regenerate both ourselves and him. When love and wisdom have sublimated the chemistry of our thoughts, then we will acquire supreme serenity, capable of encompassing the past in every aspect. So this ties us back into what we just talked about, the importance of these two wings for us to ascend, that we need equally strong service, love on one side, knowledge, wisdom on the other, to ascend to God. All of this, the more we strengthen those wings, the more we will be able to actually handle not only meeting the loved ones, which may be easier in some cases, but also those that we've hurt and they have hurt us, and sometimes in the most cruel ways. So when we go to Allan Kardec, we always like to go back to the
Yes, Allan Kardec is the way to go. We read a sentence by Emmanuel yesterday with our dear Vanessa Anceloni, which said, Jesus Christ is the door, Allan Kardec is the key.
Yes, I listened to that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing, right?
Right, exactly.
We're listening to Jesus through Minister Clarencio, and we flesh it out. We go back to get the key.
Yes.
To understand it even deeper, the messages that with the help of Allan Kardec.
Exactly.
And
so thank you for bringing Allan Kardec to us time and again, Sanchia.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it seems essential. So in question, there's several questions, 392 through 394 in particular, he addresses the forgetfulness of the past. It's actually entitled that way. And he says there, and we're not reading the questions and the answers, and you're invited to do that. He says, if we did not have forgetfulness of our past, we would be dazzled by the light. The forgetfulness allows us to be more fully present. And if we didn't have that forgetfulness, we would not be able to practice our free will to the capacity that we are asked to do. So there's three things. If we saw everything that happened in our millions of lifetimes, maybe just the placeholder, we don't know how many, but there are more than we think there are. That would be too much information. We would be dazzled, like as if the sun is dazzling me right now. The light is so strong, we have to close our eyes, right? We know that when the light is too strong in our eyes, we close it. We can't deal with it. And that is kind of like the picture to keep in mind if we knew everything from our past. And it would also pull us out of this present moment. But we're invited to be in the flesh right here, right now, to learn our lessons with the help of our free will. And that we can only do by being present. If I knew what our connection is, Carol, through the many, many lifetimes we probably, spent together in one form or another, I would maybe be thinking about this lifetime and that lifetime. I wouldn't be able to be present to you. Beautiful presence right now.
Exactly, and likewise. It's so true. Yes.
Yeah. So it makes it really clear that it is a blessing by God. On behalf of God, every incarnation, we will be better able to distinguish between good and evil. And by strengthening these two wings, we will be able to see more, to understand more, to see the truth more, the more light we carry. Where would our merit be? The spirits in the Spirits book are telling us, where would our merit be if we remembered all of our past? But we were given two major ingredients, and we want to mention them. Two major ingredients to deal with this forgetfulness, because sometimes it's frustrating, right? Sometimes we find ourselves like, if I only knew, right, what this is, right? But we have two clues that God gives us. Number one is our intuition. The intuition that we have, it's the instinctive qualities of a sort of reminiscence. We usually recognize souls we run into, right? We know we've known each other, even if it's a difficult connection. And that is one invitation to not maybe run. I mean, sometimes we feel we need to, but, to stay with it. Intuition will guide us. That is the important thing. The other one is our conscience. Those are the two that the spirits give us in the Spirits book. Conscience will help us. Our conscience will help us to remember: intuition and our conscience. The memory of former personalities would cause us serious inconveniences. We would feel prideful. Oh, I was a queen in my past life, and now I'm still a queen, even though maybe I'm a pauper. So it would again pull us out of the present moment, and then hinder our free will, as he says. To wrap it up, God has given us just what is necessary and sufficient for us to improve ourselves. The voice of our conscience and the instinctive qualities keep us from what could harm us. That's what the spirits say. Beautiful guidance, right, Carol?
Beautiful guidance. Again, the perfect marriage between reason and faith. We believe in Minister Clarencio's statements because they make sense. And Kardec, many years before Minister Clarencio, already explains why it makes sense. And now, many years after Kardec's work and André Lewis's work, it still makes sense to us. And so this is the beauty of the spirit of science. Also, what we just mentioned, Sunshine, makes us think back to the book Memoirs of a Suicide by the medium Ivone Pereira, dictated actually through the medium Ivone Pereira, dictated by the spirit Camilo Castelo Branco, where in the spiritual realm, as part of therapy, with assistance, Camilo Castelo Branco is invited to remember his past so that he understands the preciousness of life. And we see that the mentor spirits take him back to the year 33. And as they travel back to the year 33, Camilo Castelo Branco, a very renowned Portuguese writer, in the most recent times, finds out that back in the year 33, he was one of the people who actually threw stones at our Master Jesus's cross. Literally, we mean it literally. It's reported in the book. And Camilo Castelo Branco at that point says, stop. We can't take it anymore. Stop. So he himself, as a spirit in evolution like us, could not handle the truth as it was presented to him. So this is a therapeutic measure by God, knowing of our vulnerabilities, of our fragilities, emotionally and spiritually speaking. God is protecting us from ourselves. This is true wisdom. God tells us, I know you will become stronger. I believe in you, but for now you are still a child. So it is my duty as your loving parent to protect you and to care for you. So the forgetfulness that God grants us is actually a protective mechanism for all of us. And when for educational purposes, remembering glimpses of the past would be considered helpful for our evolution, God then allows it to happen, either in this plane or in the spiritual realm, as it was in the case of Camilo Castelo Branco. But never we never see in the spiritist narratives that it is done out of curiosity. We see that this process is done out of educational purposes, and that for all of us, God puts a veil surrounding our memories in order to protect us, right, Sunshine?
Yes, exactly. It's a very welcome veil as we are.
Yes. Thank you, God.
God, to just give us enough as what that we can handle, right?
Yes.
Enough that we can handle. And I love your example, your picture of a little child. We don't give a little child all of we don't give them a political download, right? Because they wouldn't be yet able to handle it. And that is
Right.
God. It's loving.
Right.
It's gentle.
Exactly. And we would like to share here our dear Vanessa. Thank you, dear Vanessa, for joining us. And she's saying, good job, Carol, correcting the title of the message. At Kardec Radio, we support faithfulness in translations. Thank you, Vanessa. Yes, at Kardec Radio, we do value faithfulness in translations because this is a treasure that Christ Jesus, our Master, has entrusted to us. So it is our collective duty to protect the nature of these works, also in honor of the lifetime of devotion on the part of Chico Xavier in psychographing more than 400 books. God bless him. And Vanessa, God bless your efforts as well in protecting the works of the Christ. Together we can do it, right?
Teamwork effort.
Teamwork effort. May Christ, our Master, continue to guide all of our efforts in the name of God.
Yes, and we
Right?
in this chapter too. It's like we see how Minister Clarencio and Andre Luis, the whole team, how they are on the path to helping one person, and there's so many souls
Exactly.
being assisted. We see that actually in every one of Andre Luis's book, and it is also what Minister Clarencio is pointing out in this chapter. We can't just ascend alone and think about ourselves. We need to do this in collaboration. It's this being in love, meaning that we care about other spirits as well. And see how far the loop goes, right? We already forgot why they asked this excursion 4 chapters or 5 chapters. Right? Because there's so many other spirits that are being helped. It's beautiful. It's really an example for us, for our own lives. Are we doing the same thing? Are we on our mission through life? Are we taking care of other souls left and right, up and down, everywhere? Are we following this beautiful example? It's kind of like almost an unspoken lesson.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And you're right, Sunshine. It is a theme throughout Andre Lewis's works.
Yeah.
In the book Liberation that we were blessed to study together, originally they were focusing on one spirit, that of Margarita. But because of Margarita's case, they ended up helping hundreds of other spirits in the process. And it was a beautiful teamwork effort towards the redemption of many beautiful souls, showing us that divine providence is indeed abundant, bright sunshine, that it embraces all of us universally speaking, and thus no one is forsaken.
Yes. So the idea is not to just single focusedly go for that one person that we have a loving bond with to help them, but to kind of lean back and listen to God's approach, because there may be a lot of other support we may lend before we actually reach that particular soul. And that is what's being modeled in the Andre Luis books every single time. I'm reminded of body work, like shiatsu or Asian body work. They very often talk about working not on the spot that hurts, but going to a distal point, the point far away that is actually connected to the point that is in pain. And that is an effort or an approach, therapeutic approach, that is often so much more effective than going right into the pain. It's just the same principle. Right?
Exactly. Yes, right.
So our chapter is winding down. Minister Clarencio closes this gathering off by saying the law is invariably the law. So Carol, as you said, as we both said earlier, it's incorruptible. You can God is incorruptible.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that's
Yeah,
incorruptible.
we need that certainty, don't we?
Yeah, it helps that at least is not changeable.
Mm-hmm.
He says, wherever we may be, we live with the result of our actions, just as the tree on any spot of land produces according to its own species. And as usual, nature is one of the most perfect examples for us. If we just spend more time and meditated more on plants and animals, on nature, we would get all the answers, because perfection is modeled to us. All we need to do is listening and practicing.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And thank God for Andre Lewis's books and all of the books psychographed by Chico Xavier, because they show us time and again how we can reach that higher sphere of spiritual evolution through service. They don't just lip talk, they show us with concrete examples how to reach out to one another. And we see that in this chapter in particular, that Minister Clarencio embraces the elderly spirit, the spirit of the elderly man who is in suffering, with the same love that he embraces everyone else. Antonina and the other spirits who are in suffering as well, Zumira and Odila, everyone receives the same loving message, approach, and embrace. It's such a beautiful living example to us. We hope that we too are inspired to reach out to one another with the same loving presence and vibration indistinctively. Right, Sunshine? Because this is what the mentor spirits model to us.
Yes. Often the love is expressed in the gap more so than through words.
Yes.
Sentiment. It is the sentiment. It's a state of presence.
Yeah.
And as we're moving closer in the month of December, as we're moving closer to Christmas, maybe we can practice it even more consciously, the state of being in love with more than just our closest friends and family members.
Yes.
What we're learning through Andre Luiz, and God bless him for bringing this to us, and of course Xavier.
Yes.
And this beautiful platform of Kardec and you.
Yes. Yes. And we remember too, Sunshine, that this whole narrative by the spirit doctor Andre Luiz through Chico Xavier began with a prayer. We may not remember right now because it has been many weeks already, but this whole narrative began with one single prayer by a young adult who counted 15 years of age in this lifetime. So we now know, dear friends, we have yet another confirmation that faith does remove mountains. That one single prayer, because it was heartfelt, activated a whole team of loving spirits to come to earth to provide an answer to one prayer. So why not pray more? Since we know that our prayers shall be answered, right? So one way to send quote unquote Christmas gifts to everyone is to pray.
I love that, Carol. What a beautiful idea. Pray for everyone.
Let us send beautifully wrapped prayers to the many around us who are in need of consolation and hope, because we know, living proof, that one single prayer can change the circumstances of dozens of brothers and sisters of ours. So if we remember to send one prayer to one person every day, wrapped beautifully as a divine Christmas gift, we too may be helping to put love into action. as our dear 15-year-old did in the beginning of this beautiful narrative.
Yeah.
We too will be creating connections, divine connections between heaven and earth. Bright sunshine.
Prayer is the most effective communication between heaven and earth.
Yes,
With us
exactly.
and God. It's the highest form.
Yes, so let us all send one another divine gifts of prayer. Bright sunshine.
I love that. Thank you, Carol.
Thank
So
you.
we are, so God willing, we will meet you again next week, same time, same place, for the continuation of our beautiful story, this time with chapter 9.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, thank you so much for joining, everyone, and many blessings for the week to come.
Yes, we look forward to seeing you next week, dear friends, God willing.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Bye.